morning, good morning, good morning. You are here for the worship experience of the Kingdom Fellowship Baptist Church, located at 3735 North Tresvant Street in the great hamlet of Fraser in the great city of Memphis in the great state of Tennessee. Glad to have you with us on this, the last Sunday of the year 2025. Now, today, we're going to be slightly different in our format, and we're going to be a little bit brief in our format. Because really, what we're going to give you, what we're going to do rather, is going to be a short meditation, and we're going to give you some homework. Yes, homework. Don't panic. Don't leave. Don't panic. Homework. But this is easy homework for you. As we will do with our meditation, we're going to look back on this past year. And here's the homework. Look at how good God has been to you. And think about that. You've made it. You're right at the cusp of a new year. You've made it. You've made it through a lot of the Christmas season. You may not have everything you want. You may have lost some loved ones along the way, but you made it. You may be hurting right now, and I'm not trying to dredge up anything, not trying to trigger you, but you've been through some stuff this year. But you made it. Let me take a page out of my own book so you can understand how there are highs and lows, ups and downs during the year. Things change, things shift, things happen, good things happen, and even with some of the good, there's challenge. In the spring of this year, I thought I was going to die. I'm sorry, the algorithms, when you go on social media, tell you not to say that word. Tell you to say unalived. I don't know what that is, but I was almost unalived. Got real sick. Didn't know what was going on. I know many of you are watching me every week, but you didn't know the struggle I had even to be in this space. So got around March. Really, this started probably this time last year. Got around March. Found out how sick I was and why I was waving at leaving here. My body was starting to fail me. My eyesight was starting to leave me. It was to the point that when I drove during the day, and you see I wear glasses, I had to take my glasses off so I could see to drive. But I got to the doctor, found out what the problem was, and reversed it to the point where this challenge, this medical challenge I have in my life is almost gone. It's mediated, and now I'm working on it to go in the rearview mirror of my life so I don't have to deal with it anymore. It's that close. But I was close on the other side to leaving here in the spring. And yes, there's even some challenges in getting rid of it. But God willing, it will be gone soon. So now that happened. And here's what else happened. A mission trip I was wrestling to do as executive mission director of Progressive National Baptist Convention came into fruition, and 14 of us went to Kenya in August of this year. We were there for 12 days, had a marvelous, impactful trip. So you see the highs and the lows of life. You see, almost left here and didn't make it to the trip, and then made it to the trip. And all throughout, God has been good. In the midst of challenges, in the midst of heartache. And so look at this text. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. It's Lamentations 3:22 through 23. Think about how good God has been to you this year. And you got to understand what good means. Good doesn't mean the absence of trial. Good simply means that wherever you find yourself in life, God has been present. For example, I know some of you have been through bereavement this year. You're going through challenges this year, but you know what also happened in the midst of that? You may have grown closer to your family. You may have reevaluated what's important in your life. You may have gleaned a closer walk with God because you realize that some of the things you think are important are not that important. And you realize that through it all, God has kept you. I have a friend of mine, I'm going to call his name. Normally when I talk about this, I don't call his name, not because it's anything bad, I just don't. But I was having a conversation some years ago with Stacy Spencer. He's the pastor at New Direction Christian Church here in Memphis. We were talking, and I've known him for some years. Because at that point, when I was talking to him, I think I had known him for about 15 years. I've known him for about 30. Yes, I'll admit it, we're that old. I'll leave that alone. He might see this and start laughing. We were talking, and I was telling them what was going on with me. It was a tumultuous time in my life. I saw something recently of a pastor in Knoxville that asked the church to pray for him because he was going through hell in his home. And it made him despondent. And I could feel his pain because as a pastor, a lot of times people don't even realize or think about your humanity. That even as you stand before them, you got all kinds of things going on with you. And at this point in my life, I had peace nowhere. Only time I had peace was when I had conversation with the Lord. And Stacy said to me, the only reason you're sane right now is that the Lord is keeping you in your right mind. Digest that for a minute. He said the only reason you're sane of all that's going on in your life is because the Lord is keeping you in your right mind. That's a lot of what I mean when I say that God is good. You got to look past the circumstances. You have to look past the challenges. You have to look past the hurt, look past the pain, and ask yourself the question, how am I making it with all of this stuff going on in my life? I give you the answer. The Lord's doing it. The Lord's making it possible. Old school gospel folk and church folk will say, my soul looks back and wonders how I got over. You don't have to wonder. God did it. God's kept you. This past week, I was sitting in the movie theater, and I forget what it was I was watching. And then all of a sudden, reflections start hitting me. Lord started showing me and dealing with me and showing me all the impossibilities that have happened in my life, when I look at my life in many ways, the places I've been able to go, the things I've been able to do, don't make sense. Didn't have mentors for some of this stuff. Was walking by faith. And what'll happen is when you walk, God will put stuff, bring stuff, open doors. And you keep walking and God keeps being faithful. And it's amazing to me how when you're faithful, God will take you places and do things in your life and do things in your witness you didn't know were possible. But that's because God is with you and God is good. So you've had some bumps in the road this year. I know you have. You've had some joy this year. I know you have. But what I'm trying to get you to see that regardless of the bumps and regardless of the joy, as this text says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. And understand, this book was written around the time of the exile in 586 BC, where the children of Israel were taken out of their comfort zone and went in exile because of what they did. But in the midst of that, the writer said, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. Because restoration, even in the midst of being taken into exile because of what you've done, the Lord still has not left. And that's a word for somebody else who has messed up their life this year. You've done some stuff. You've been into some stuff. You've dabbled in some relationships that weren't for you. You've been in some places you shouldn't have been. But yet, the Lord has kept you. Think about it. God has been good. And every day you open your eyes, God's compassions are new every morning. And God's faithful every morning. Money's short, but food's on the table. Money's short, but you're warm and well fed. Money's short, but you're still able to make a way. God's amazing like that. And even when it gets real tight, you're able to make a way. God may give you ingenuity, the stuff you have. You may need to sell some of it to keep moving. But even as you do it, you realize that your anchor is not in the stuff, but your anchor is in God. So we close out this year remembering just how good God has been. We close out this year remembering how God has kept us. And this same God that kept you this year, that anchored you all the way this year, is that same God that on Wednesday night going into Thursday morning will walk you into 2026. Same God. Same God that kept you from the beginning of your life until now. Same God. Stuff, yes. Some of us, it's been rough. But some of what you're dealing with, if you just tune your perspective and look at it a little differently, you'll be able to equip yourself to change the trajectory of your life for 2026. Yes, the reality of where you are is real, but the reality of who God is greater. And people like to say God opens doors, but sometimes I like to say God can create a door where there is no door. God can carve a door out of a wall and make a passageway for you and open up stuff for you, and the people around you will be in awe. And you'll be in awe. Let me end it with this. Storm was raging. This is in the New Testament, in the Gospels. Storm's raging. Jesus tells the disciples, go on out across the sea. I'll catch up with you. Storm raging real bad. All of a sudden, they look up, they see Jesus in the midst of the storm on the water. Peter says, Lord, can I come to you? Jesus says, come on. Peter gets out the boat. Now, this is a fisherman, used to these conditions, understanding what's going on, understanding even if he didn't understand the science, because most of us don't. He knew what most of us knew. If you step out on water, in order to live, you're going to have to swim. But he steps out on the water and walks on top of it. Peter was walking on the water. Something that should not happen. And Peter was doing fine until he realized the winds are blowing, water's lapping under his feet. And when he realizes he's doing something that is supposed to be impossible, he starts sinking. But he had sense enough to say, Lord, save me. And Jesus stretched out his hand and grabbed him and explained to him that it was a matter of faith. Because the few steps you took and you didn't sink, if you had kept that mindset and kept your eyes on me, you'd have been all right. God has protected you. I told church members the other day, you've driven a route all the time, going to and from work. One day, you take a detour, you're not thinking. You miss where you're supposed to go. And you get aggravated, and it turns out God was protecting you from something that was waiting on you going that way. I have in the past done that and then turned the news on and find out that something happened on the route that I normally would take around the time I would have taken it. Has that happened to you? That's God gently steering you around stuff. God protecting you. I don't have time enough to get into some of the ways that God has protected me. 3 times. 3. When I went to Africa, once in South Africa, once in Rwanda, once in Kenya. God kept me. Don't have time to get into these stories, but it was the Lord, especially in South Africa and Rwanda. Yes, in Kenya too, but those two especially, God kept me. So I want you to know that in the midst of your trial, and like the commercial says for the hair club for men, I'm not only the president, I'm a client too. No, I don't have that. This is my hair, but you get my point. God will keep you. And God has kept you. Let me say it a different way so that you'll remember, and I'll let the scriptures speak. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Time for me to go. Want to encourage you as you close out the year. Same God that kept you to this point will take you over into the new year and be with you there. Just trust him. Just consider him. And I want to thank you for taking this journey with us all through the year. If you're able, send us something to help us sustain this. I merely ask, you're not required. Not asking so that I can have a mansion and a yacht. I have neither. But it will help with the upkeep of what we do here for you. It costs resources to do this every week. It's not free. But we do it as a service so that we can be a blessing. And if you are led to help support it, we'll be ever so grateful. Again, I pray blessings for you. I pray peace for you. I pray strength for you. I pray healing for you. And I pray that the Lord will allow us to walk into 2026 whole. May God bless you and keep you, is my prayer. Take care.